Good news, Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen, you're back for 2025. Bad news, the owner's already struck the match and applied it to the chair in which you'll be sitting all season long. He's running out of patience. He's about to run out of patience. I think he really did talk himself out of making big changes. He was inspired when he went to the premiere of the documentary about his father, Wellington, to not be hasty. It's been Jaguars-esque in New York since they won Super Bowl 46, where coach is gone, coach is gone, coach is gone, GM's gone, coach is gone, GM's gone. And part of it, too, and I was talking to somebody about this on Sunday, some of these owners are realizing it's not going to make your team any better. You're not going to find a better coach. You know, it all comes down to players. Dick Vermeil said when they put him in the Hall of Fame, I became a much smarter coach when I got Marshall Faulk. It's about having better players. And there's a certain amount of continuity that helps you at least get the most out of the guys you have. But still, you know, I saw something from Pat Leonard of the New York Daily News. The characterization that he had is of the entire John Mara informal press conference yesterday, Schoen is much safer than Daboll. And he feels, Mara does, much better about Schoen than Daboll. And if anybody was close to getting whacked, to getting made, and then walks in the door and gets whacked yesterday, it would have been Brian Daboll. But they're running it back. They're giving it another try. But it's clear that plane's going to be flying. If they don't win early, that schedule is going to be critical. They need to get some cupcakes on the schedule early. Because if they don't get off to a big start, that plane's going to be in the air. John Mara is going to possibly make an interim decision. I don't know. But by this time next year, at the latest, we'll be talking about who's the next Giants coach and maybe who's the next GM going to be.
And I think it's so interesting, as you said that, of like Schoen is far more safer than Daboll, because it seemed like from the outside world looking in, and probably mainly because of the offseason Hard Knocks, it was like this feeling of, well, Schoen messed everything up because of Daniel Jones' contract and Saquon Barkley, and Daboll should be safe. And then, like, you kind of found out as this thing was getting towards this moment in time, it was like, man, I remember reading everything. It said, like, it felt like Daboll was going to get fired and Schoen was going to stay there. So I do think, and we just said it previously, of if you're going to keep somebody, then you just keep both of them. And you say, let's do this and let's figure it out. Let's give you guys another opportunity. And you spoke about their schedule, and I saw for their upcoming schedule, they have the AFC West and the NFC North are the two divisions they're going to have to play next year. And it's like, and I'm sure Joe Schoen knows that. So when they ask him, do you have to make the playoffs? It's kind of like, I mean, like, we don't know what next year is going to be like, but if we go off just this year and the teams we're going to have to play, Green Bay, you have to play Detroit, Minnesota, the Chiefs, the Chargers, like, you start to think about some of these teams, the Broncos, like, that you're going to have to play. It's like, realistically, that's going to be really hard because, oh, yeah, remember, the Eagles and Washington are in our division who are playoff teams, and the Cowboys have Dak Prescott, who was hurt last year. He's going to come back, and, like, they're going to be a better team. So for the Giants, it's going to be an uphill battle. What they exactly need to look like, I'm not 100% sure. Maybe they need to look like how we just explained the Arizona Cardinals. Maybe they just need to be close to making the playoffs. I'm not sure when your owner, John Mara, comes out and says, I'm running out of patience. I don't know what that looks like for the standard and the expectation he's going to have for the season. But when I look at that schedule, I say, well, it's going to be an uphill battle, gentlemen. Like, this is going to be tough to think that your team is going to be able to turn it around, find the quarterback of the future, hit the ground running, and be able to go out there and win, what do you want to call it, 7, 8, 9 wins to make you relevant in one of the harder divisions in football. Like, that's going to be hard for that team.
Can we put the opponents back up again? Because everyone in the NFC East has to play all 4 teams of the NFC North and all 4 teams of the AFC West and each other twice. The difference comes from where you finished. And because the Giants were last, they'll play the last place teams from the AFC East, NFC South, and NFC West, while the other teams in the division will play first, like the Eagles will, second, the Commanders will, and third, the Cowboys will. But when you look at the divisions, like, there isn't a whole lot of spread. Hey, you get to play the 4th place team from the NFC West. Oh, it was the 49ers. Uh-oh. 4th place team in the NFC South. I mean, It's really not a huge difference between the best and the worst there. And in the AFC East, the only real benefit at this point, depending upon what the Dolphins do, is to avoid playing the Bills. So it's not like there's much of an advantage in getting the fourth-place schedule. There was a time when the scheduling formula was such that getting a last-place schedule was one of the boosts for a team going into the next season. That's not the case anymore. It's going to be a tough year for all the teams in the NFC East, and it's not like the Giants are going to get any favors because, yeah, they get to play the 49ers. Finishing, I mean, what cruel trick was played on the Giants that they have to play the 49ers as a reward for being the worst team in the division?
And I think that's what people don't understand sometimes of why it's special when you see a team like Washington get a Jaden Daniels and then have the ability to be in the playoffs. But that's hard to do. Like, you usually have a lot of holes on your team. And you just said it, like Vermeil said, when you get good players, things change. And for Washington, you bring in Dan Quinn, and then you get a bunch of these good players, and then you win. So for the Giants, how exactly are you going to get all of these good players into your building? Like, when you don't get enough of them or you don't have a quarterback, sometimes the play of different players, it gets overshadowed. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, they draft Drew Phillips, who plays in the slot this year. He was a pretty good player for them this year, but it just didn't matter because the team was so bad. You didn't get to see it that much. So they're going to have to – Joe Schoen's going to have to do a good job of almost every selection, every free agent, every draft pick. Like, they're going to have to play some type of role to make this team better. And when you see teams go from not so good to pretty good the next year, it's because almost every move made, it doesn't mean that every move is a star player, but every move that's made, that guy finds a way to contribute in some facet of the game that makes a difference and makes an impact for the team. And I don't think people realize how hard that is to do when you put in injuries, you put in getting guys from different teams or getting rookies to come in. Like, you're not exactly sure how all of that will fit in. It's a puzzle. You don't know how those pieces will need to be shaped. So it's not easy to do that. But when you get 2-3 years in this day and age in the NFL, there's a lot of expectations that it's not going to just be you kind of like, you need to figure it out. You need to be in a place where ownership can say, hey, it looks like we're going to be contenders in the next few years leaving that season. So it's going to be very important, I think, for the Giants to make this team look like Washington-esque or look like one of those teams in the NFC East that can maybe compete to win the division, because we've said it, I don't know if it's 19, 20 years, whatever it is, a different team in the NFC East wins the division. So with the Eagles winning it this year, I think Mara's going to feel like, hey, the Giants have a shot to win this division next year for those guys to still be coaching the New York Giants going forward.
And the key is going to be quarterback. What are you going to do about quarterback? They got the third overall pick in the draft. We haven't pivoted. I know I haven't pivoted yet to what the draft class looks like, and is it stocked, or is it more like the Kenny Pickett, Malik Willis class from a couple of years ago? But they need to find a quarterback, and there aren't going to be a ton of options in free agency, but there will be some. They could try to trade for somebody. There are things that they're going to have to do. It starts with quarterback, because that's the guy who's got the most potential to turn your team around quickly, as long as you can block for him. I still think, the best Giants teams we've seen this century had great offensive and defensive lines. Those were the two championship teams, 2007 and 2011. So they got a lot of work to do, and it doesn't get any easier next year with that schedule. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.